$1,080,000. That's how much one of my clients made from one simple boring ad that's been running for her for almost 3 years now. And I say boring because the ad itself is actually stupid simple. There's nothing fancy about it. And yet it quietly outperformed campaigns with 10 times the budget and 10 times the creatives behind them. Now, I've managed over $100 million in ad spend across Meta and Google, working with businesses in more than 20 different industries. And after all of that, the one thing that I keep coming back to is that the ads that make the most money never look impressive. In fact, they all come down to 4 stupidly simple pieces. And once you know how they fit together, you'll know the exact structure behind a boring ad that's made over $1 million and how you can build one for your own business instead of swapping creatives every single week. But before I break down those 4 pieces, you need to understand why boring ads keep working in the first place. See, nobody's scrolling through their feed stopping to analyze your ad. They're looking for something that makes them feel an emotion in the first 1 or 2 seconds. And the simple ads do that better than anything that's polished because they don't look like an ad. They just look like something real in their feed. So they slip right through and hit the viewers before they even realize what they're looking at. Now, I'm not saying your ad should look like it's 2010, but they should be simple enough to be understood in under a second and evoke an emotion so fast. And that is why boring ads keep on winning. Now, the client I built this ad for is a dog trainer. She essentially has a local business where she works with dog owners teaching basic obedience, leash training, and behavioral stuff. She's not some massive franchise or 8-figure brand, but she just needed a consistent flow of new clients walking through her door. And when we started working together, we did what I do for pretty much every single client, regardless of their industry. We built one simple funnel, created one simple ad around it, and turned the whole thing on. And I know that that sounds almost irresponsible when you compare it to what almost every single agency is pitching, but the businesses I've seen win with ads across all those industries are never the ones with the fanciest creative or the most complicated strategy. They're the ones that found the one thing that worked and actually had the discipline to leave it alone. So what happened with her is pretty wild. $100,000 in total ad spend has turned into $1,080,000 in revenue across 3 years. She's doing around $60,000 a month right now, and her waitlist goes out to about 6 months, which means she can't even take on new clients tomorrow even if she wanted to. And in the last 30 days, we spent about $2,800 on her ads. I'd say spending $2,800 to keep a business booked half a year in advance is a pretty great deal. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you why boring ads work. But how does one actually keep working for almost 3 years straight? Because that ad has been running untouched since July of 2023. And it all comes down to how Meta's algorithm actually learns. See, every time someone clicks on your ad, fills out your form, or books a call, Meta gets smarter about exactly who is your target audience and who is most likely to do the same exact thing. And that learning compounds over weeks and months. So when you kill an ad after 5 days because the cost per lead ticked up by a few bucks, you're resetting that entire learning process back to zero and starting from scratch, which is exactly why most people's results are all over the place. And while most people were doing exactly that, she just left hers alone and she let the algorithm do its job. And it just kept getting better and better. And yes, ads do have a shelf life, but when the underlying offer and creative actually resonates with the right audience, that shelf life is way longer than most people think. So that brings me to what the ad actually looks like. And I promise you, when you see how boring this creative is, you're going to realize you could build something just as effective for your own business literally today. Because the entire ad is a short video. The first few seconds shows a German Shepherd absolutely losing their mind, pulling on a leash, barking, and completely out of control. Every dog owner watching that has felt that in their gut when their dog is going crazy, right? In public, you can't do anything about it. You cannot take them to restaurants. You can't do anything with them. And then it transitions into the same exact dog walking calmly without a leash through an airport with hundreds of people around them, completely composed in an environment that would stress out most dogs on the planet. And that is the entire ad. Very simple, but it worked extremely well because the viewer feels the pain they're living with, and then they see the exact outcome that they want but don't believe is possible on their own dog. That's just a real transformation that hits you emotionally before you even realize you're watching an ad. And at the end of the day, a good offer with a bad ad will outperform a bad offer with the best ad ever made because the viewer doesn't actually care about your production budget. They care about whether the ad makes them feel something in those first 3 seconds, and this is where those 4 pieces come in. I call this PPPC, which stands for pain, promise, proof, and call to action. And the dog training ad is the cleanest example because every single piece lands without a single word of copy being on the screen. The pain is the dog going crazy on the leash, and you don't need to explain it because every dog owner already lived it, and they see that footage and they immediately see see their own dog. The promise is baked into the transformation itself. It leads to them thinking that if this dog can go from pulling and barking to walking calmly through an airport, then maybe there's a real path forward for my dog too. The proof is the viewer is watching it with their own exact eyes. We didn't need testimonials or anything, which is way more convincing, by the way, instead of telling them that the program works, etc. And the call to action is the most vanilla thing you've ever seen. All we said is if you want that for your dog, click the link below. That's it. And I almost feel embarrassed breaking this down because it's stupid simple. There's really not much going on. But hey, if it works, it works. Now, what makes this framework so powerful is its first piece, the pain. Because if that pain doesn't already exist in someone's daily life, you need to surface it for them. And I don't mean make up something. I mean showing your audience the problem they're already living with so vividly that they feel it before they even process what they're looking at. While most people try to call out their audience with weak call-outs and hooks, which really nobody stops scrolling for, what actually works is making someone feel the pain in the first 3 seconds. Because that German Shepherd video definitely doesn't say, "Attention dog owners," or anything like that. It just shows a dog going absolutely crazy, and every dog owner watching that immediately sees their own situation. That emotional reaction is what stops the scroll, and it happens before the viewer even knows that they're watching an ad. And by the way, if you want to learn how to build this entire system for yourself, from the ad creative to the funnel to the automations that follow up with your leads on autopilot, I put everything inside a completely free course that I'll leave the link down below in the description if you want to go deeper. Now, the reason I'm breaking all of this down is so you can do the exact same thing. And it starts with your version of that German Shepherd moment. Every business has one. If you're a roofer, it's a leak in the ceiling at 2 a.m. If you run a med spa, it's that one thing in the mirror that bugs you every single morning. Whatever your industry is, find that moment, show it as simply as you possibly can, and then show the after. That's your $1 million boring ad. So hopefully now you see how simple it is to create it. But there's also a hard part in this approach, and that has nothing to do with building the ad itself. Because the second you start running a simple ad like this, every instinct is going to tell you to change it. You're going to see your numbers dip for a day or two, and you're going to want to pause everything. You're going to look at what your competitors are doing with their fancy video production and polished graphics, and you're going to think that your boring little ad needs an upgrade. Or someone on your team is going to have to tell you that the ad looks too simple and you need something more professional. And that is exactly the moment where most people blow up something that's actually working, because they get bored of their own ad before their audience does. And that is the number one reason I see businesses fail with paid ads. They just couldn't stay boring long enough for it to actually work. So if you can fight that urge to keep tweaking your ad, you're golden. Assuming the ad is generating an ROI. Now, the ad is just one piece. If you want to learn how to build everything behind it, like the funnel, the automations, and the follow-ups, I put everything inside my Click to Client free course. It's completely free. I'll leave it down below in the description. But if you want to see what your competitors are running so you can find the simplest angle that's going to outperform all of it, I walk you through exactly how to pull up every single one of your competitors' ads for free inside this video right here. Check it out, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.